Hey guys.
Hi.
So this next video for Waifu Month on Marginal is kind of different in terms of tone. It's a little more depressing and it has some vague, like, suicide sort of stuff going on.
It's overall kind of a downer.
Yeah, so we just wanted to warn you ahead of time just in case.
It's also a little boring, but we hope you like it anyways.
Yep. Okay.
Man, welcome to Waifu Month. I'm sure that my sister herself really knew.
Yeah.
That if she continued living like this, sooner or later she would break down from sickness.
Oh, I didn't hit it.
Sometime in the future.
Yeah, that one,
she
I think that
die.
one auto did it. She was going to die sometime in the future.
Yeah. Because that atonement is supposed to be for 333 years, right? That means your whole life. Times 11.
Yeah.
Indeed, from the start it had been forced to be much longer than a single human life. Even if my sister were to keep that contract until she died, she would never fulfill it.
So that it would have to be passed on to the next person.
But does it reset every time?
That's a good question, because there's a chance that if the contract doesn't, then the god was doing it to be a dick. He just wanted people to do this non-stop. But if
it carries over.
If it carries over, then you have a specific amount of people you'd have to go through, even if they're dying young.
That's still bullshit, though. I mean, the point is that it's bullshit. It's supposed to be cruel. It's part of the backstory. A child like me would oh, wrong voice. That's not dialogue. A child like me couldn't understand that, and yet it was impossible for my more intelligent sister to grasp. So let's run away together. Even if we face hunger, it has to be much better than being here. But at my words, she shook her head slightly and pointed at the Tori. Just like she had previously done, she was indicating that God was watching.
So if we run, he's gonna get us.
The giant red gate thing's gonna just pull up its legs and walk after us. Oh, sis, even God isn't looking. For one thing, it's even a bit suspicious whether he really exists. I like her. I like her.
Yeah.
That was how I really felt. As someone who is in service to God, I might be a failure, but I've never seen him nor heard his voice. To me, his existence only served to torment my sister. So it'll be fine, sis. While no one's looking, let's run away from here. A dry sound reverberated, right as I spoke. Of course, that sound was my cheek being slapped, and none other than my sister did the slapping. That's such an awkward sentence.
Yeah, that sentence could use some work.
Yeah. Well, sis! There was no pain. More than anything, there was surprise. Oh, okay. Did she break her hand?
I don't know.
No. My usually very kind and calm sister was, for the first time ever, showing me a very strict face. She wasn't angry that I had suggested we run away. It was because I questioned the existence of the gods. I'm sure that my sister believed in them from the bottom of her heart, as a priestess in service to God, as well as one who took on the duties of such. And if one were to deny that, then it would be denying one's own reason for existing.
It would be at the very least denying the work that her sister had put in, killing herself.
Yeah, but it's not too late to not kill yourself.
Yeah.
That's why I think my sister believed. No. Wanted to believe. So, like, it's gonna be my sister slowly killed herself for a dumb reason, so hey, random Japanese salaryman, don't kill yourself for a dumb reason or any reason.
Or
Let me be your waifu. Next month, around when the leaves on the trees fell, and in exchange, white fell from the sky. As always, the days my sister spent lying down continued.
It wasn't snow, it was just like...
dandruff.
Yeah, the sky was just scratching its head really hard. The moon started chunking off and just falling on us.
Just moon cheese just crumbled its parmesan on us. I like
somebody was grating the moon cheese.
Yeah. Before, she'd been lying down for half the month. But as if in sync with the coming of winter, she now seemed to be lying down all the time. Immediately after finishing the morning cold water ablution, she would almost collapse to the floor and just sleep.
Are they the only people here? Like, I got the impression there was supposed to be more than just the two priestesses.
There we go. Then one day, a young footman I was friends with secretly told me. My sister probably couldn't be saved. Yeah, there's like guards, I guess. Yeah. He also added that she probably would not even make it to spring. We were 10 years apart, so she would have only just turned 20. But it seemed that my sister was going to die. I was very sad when I heard this, but I wasn't very surprised. 10-year-olds gotta deal with this. I'm sure that somewhere in my heart I had calmly accepted that the time had come. I knew that if she continued to live like this, sooner or later it would happen. But if Sis were to die, then what would happen to me? Oh, she's got to take on the silence.
Yeah, potentially.
Even though, since as far back as I can remember, I was brought up to be a priestess just like her. For some reason, I had never been once taught anything about things like rituals. Since I was only 10, maybe it was something I would be taught in the future. In the future?
I don't know.
It seems like that should have had a question mark at the end.
Yeah. Probably.
But right now, other than being my sister's younger sister, I was of no value. Then one day, I was called to the main shrine.
Okay, so they just live in a shrine out in the middle of nowhere. And then the main shrine is a different place.
Or maybe their building's on a compound, I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Not with my sister, alone. Please excuse me, head priest. Lowering my head exaggeratedly deep, I bowed to the person sitting in the center. He was the head priest, in caps, the highest ranking person at the shrine, and someone I almost never met. Up until now, I had only met him while hiding behind my sister's back, so I was extremely nervous.
I don't have my human shield anymore.
Yeah, no, she wasn't a very good shield.
No, I imagine she wouldn't be.
Oh. Topples right over.
I guess.
By the way, how is it doing? It doesn't seem to be faring well. Yes. I had raised my head but kept my eyes lowered while answering.
Oh, that was the priest
saying
Oh shit,
stuff. Another human being! The it that the priest spoke of was my sister. And by the way, he would only refer to me as girl.
Wow. What a dick.
Yeah, so the priestess who's carrying your debt and is, like, wedded to the god who's demon-dicking your entire compound is just an it?
Yeah.
I mean, this is just more evidence for atheism, honestly. I just think this guy's got a racket going. Maybe he's got, like, a camera hidden in the room and he just really likes quiet, sick girls. Welcome to Waifu Month. In terms of standing, we were considered priestesses.
You welcome people to Waifu Month like 4 times now. Please stop doing it.
Well, it's been sarcastic every single time.
I'm just saying.
Except the first one.
Jeez.
So we had never been treated rudely. But even so, we weren't treated properly as humans. Could it be because they're doorstop orphans?
Could be.
I think that's the priest, so that could be you.
You know of this girl? It seems it can't be saved.
Yes, I have heard such from the priests.
As expected, it didn't last long either.
Either? I remember that word catching me. The words indicated more than one, not your sister, but your sister also. Before I could think about what that meant, the head priest continued to speak.
That is why, while there is time, I order that you will take over.
Take over?
Yes, when it dies, you as the sister will take over the duty.
At first I couldn't understand what the head priest was saying. Because I was 10.
Yeah.
Take over? The duty? Me? But then I soon realized he was saying that I, too, will have my words sealed away, live on 1 bowl of porridge a day, chill my body, as the 333-year sacrifice for atonement. Hey, what is that? Oh, is that you?
Yeah. Hey, what's that surprised face?
Eh?
With just 1 human, there's no way to atone for 300 years.
You mean, for this purpose I was...
Of course. Using many people like this is the only way to deal with it.
Could you at least do it all at once? You know, get it done with like 10 people in 30 years?
Yeah.
He answered without hesitation.
No, because they have to live a specific way when they do it.
But they can all do it.
And they all die.
Yeah, but then no more people will die later.
I'm gonna guess it's one at a time.
I mean, it's probably in the demon rules, whatever.
Yeah.
He answered without hesitation. There wasn't one hint of change in his voice or expression. It was as if he were blandly explaining something extremely obvious. And indirectly, he told me that I was a spare replacement for my sister.
And by the way, your sister was the third.
Holy shit! They've got, like, another, like, 300 years. Like, literally.
You'll be the fourth. With you, we can get the remaining number of years down quite a bit.
The remaining number of years is...
Your sister only lasted about 15 years.
Oh my god, she started at 5.
But there are about 200 years left.
That's fewer years than I thought, but holy shit.
Well, yeah, you have to assume she's 20, but she had to have started when she was young, but she couldn't have started at birth.
But they know she's sisters with the other one, but the other one was left here in the doorstop and is 10 years younger. Oh, he's just farming them from a family.
I think when they say sisters, they might mean
like
because
nuns.
They were raised together.
Okay.
Not so much nuns.
Oh, either way. I don't know. But fuck.
Yeah.
With that, the head priest's expression softened just the tiniest bit. It was the first time I'd seen that sort of expression on his face since I'd come here. To be honest, there's not much change being told that 200 years remained.
You're a little too quiet when you do that. I don't know if the audio is going to pick it up.
Well, you can boost it or something.
No, I can't.
Well, then I don't know. She said that it doesn't matter if it's 200 years because she's going to die before it.
Just don't whisper like that. Like...
At the least, if it were impossible even using my entire life, then it was all the same to me. That's you.
In any case, once it dies, you will take over, understand? Hey, where's your answer?
Does it matter what her answer is?
I don't know. She could tell him no.
Ooh, I hope so.
That would be interesting.
Head priest. Oh, that's you.
But I don't want to hear you whining. I asked if you understood.
I silently gave a small nod. Honestly, I didn't know what to say. Even if I said I didn't want to, I understood enough to know it wasn't going to be allowed. And yet, looking at me silently nodding.
Good. Like just now, you should be practicing, not making a sound, understood?
When I once again silently nodded at those words, the head priest wore a satisfied smile. I think he is getting off on this.
He's just a dick.
Yeah. When I left the main shrine, I was thinking many things. I just couldn't bring all my thoughts together. The head priest's words were probably correct. Even I didn't think that 333 years could be covered by a single person. Well, she's 10 years old. I guess she doesn't understand lifespans yet. Yeah. If they weren't a supernatural being or a holy man, it was natural that a person could only live about 100 years. And that's generous?
She totally understands.
Okay, yeah.
She keeps saying I could, but for some strange reason, I think I've caught you twice now saying couldn't.
What?
Yeah. She keeps saying even I could understand that.
I may have?
Yeah.
You didn't correct me when it happened.
No, I didn't feel
I correct you when these things happen.
I didn't notice if you had said it or not. Like, I just kind of...
I don't know. Look. We're not going to call it my typos and they didn't happen.
But all that I'm saying is that she can understand.
Okay, fuck.
Her sister can't, but she can. She keeps saying, I can understand, I could understand.
You do this constantly.
It's okay, don't worry.
But I hadn't thought of wearing it down with a number of priestesses like
this.
Okay,
that's silly, because she should have realized that that's what they were doing. There's no way her sister was the first.
Yeah. To go that far, just what could have been this debt to God? Also, like, they said, like, they weren't sure what it was,
Yeah,
and
she
it's
was like,
only been three
nobody knows
cycles.
what's up. And it's like, it's been 3 cycles.
I guarantee you that Priest has been alive for all of them.
Being generous, 3 cycles at 20 years apiece is 60 years.
Well, he said they have 200 years left to go, and it was... so it's 130
fair.
years,
Okay,
actually.
fine.
Okay.
Her sister only lasted 15 years, and the 2 before her then
Maybe
covered
the other
rest
2
of
got
that space.
to, like, reach adulthood on more than a bowl of porridge a day.
No, because the bowl of porridge is part
Well,
of
no,
the
maybe
death.
they started it before, like afterwards.
know.
Like, they started her at 5.
I don't know.
That's fucked. To be honest, I couldn't imagine it, nor was I interested. All I understood was, if my sister dies, then I would be the one who would take up being the sacrifice of atonement for the remaining 200 years. Obviously, even if I spent my entire life, it wouldn't be enough. By chance, I looked up. The sky was gray as lead. It was such a striking sight. That winter's icy sky seemed to be filled with gray as far as you could see. She's gonna go home when the sister's dead, right?
Maybe.
That night, my sister was lying down with a silk cloth wrapped around her mouth. As always, she continued with this, her way to keep from accidentally making a sound while coughing.
Yeesh.
Facing her like that, I told her about today's events. That her sickness probably couldn't be cured. That I was her spare, about how I would be taking it up after her. Sis, it looks like I'm also going to be unable to speak. And they said that there are still 200 years left. She mostly listened to my words without any particular reply. She especially didn't show any surprise or dismay. These were all things my much smarter sister had probably guessed.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
My sister probably couldn't be saved, and it had been decided that I would follow after her. The exhausted figure of my sister would be mine a few years later. Sis, I'll ask just one more time. Can I? Nod. At my weakly nodding sister, I continued to speak. Let's run from here. She can't run. I didn't say it in the light-hearted, partly joking way that I used to up until now. I said them because I really wanted to flee from here. Even if God watches, I don't care. To die in a place like this for such a reason, it's stupid. Even if my sister couldn't be saved, even if this had all been done out of consideration for me, the life that I obtained from all that, at this point, its future had become worthless. At this point, I don't even know what you've spent your life on, sis, so let's run away, okay? Even at these words, my sister remained silently looking down. Eventually, she slowly shook her head and closed her eyes. This is what religion gets you, folks.
Yeah, a little bit.
No matter what I said to her after, she didn't face me. Sis, does this mean you've accepted your fate? With a silk cloth wrapped around her mouth, even on her deathbed, that duty, the sacrifice for atonement, was what she continued to fulfill. For a debt or loan we don't even recall making to some god or whatever, she never opened her mouth or used her voice for me. Even now, I had never heard my sister's voice, and just maybe it might all end before I ever hear it. A premonition that I didn't want to come to pass, but for some reason felt like it wouldn't miss.
Next month.
So if she takes on the role, does that mean that the sister no longer has to do it if it's done before she dies?
I think when they say that she's taking on the role, they may mean that she either is picking it up right at the end of her sister's death because they're afraid that her sister is going to start talking on her deathbed, or they mean that they are going to train her while her sister's still alive, and then as soon as she dies, the girl takes over.
Well, if they transfer the atonement to her, then the sister could potentially talk. But that's probably not going to happen.
No, I don't think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, because this sounds like too depressing a game for that.
Next month, the harsh winter came in full force.
Oh, you want to take a turn?
No, I just...
For the first time in a while, it was a night where the large moon showed its face. The cramped sleeping room that my sister and I alone used. We were sleeping there as always, when suddenly they came. With a sharp clack, the sliding door opened forcefully.
It was God!
Beyond was a priest and the head priest, along with a number of footmen that I recognized. So late in the night, is something happening? It was so sudden, I had no idea what was going on. For it to be so late at night and have many people come in one after another, it was honestly more scary than surprising. Head priest, what is...
To prevent any accidents, we've come to take precautions. Oh, that wasn't the voice I was using. To prevent any accidents, we've come to take precautions.
Accidents? Before I could even ask what that was, a cloth was pressed to my mouth. Oh no. Then, almost like a gag, it was firmly tightened. Oh no.
With this, she won't be able to speak. She might make a sound suddenly, after all.
The priest muttered that while I was unable to understand what was happening. What then leapt at my eyes was... Okay. What, sis? Before me was my sister with her mouth gagged even more tightly than mine. Moreover, pressed to her neck was the blade of a tanto. I guess that's a sword?
Yeah, it's a sword type.
Okay. Ready to tear into my sister's neck.
There might be some time before she dies, but we want to make sure of the transfer, you see.
Saying that, the head priest looked at the footman holding the tanto.
Tanto.
Well, if it's Japanese, it's not.
Yeah, I know.
Why do you do this?
I don't know.
Genuinely, why? It was then that I finally understood the situation.
Because you keep saying Tonto, and I keep thinking of the Native American from Lone Ranger.
Well, I've never seen the Lone Ranger. And also, I'm just saying what they said.
I know.
They're going to kill my sister. On top of that, from the instant that I would become the next sacrifice, they wanted to prevent the chance that I could use my voice. It had happened that suddenly, in a place with no one around, she were to die of her illness. There was a possibility that I would raise my voice in crying.
Yeah.
They probably feared that. Why doesn't the priest just shut up? The priest can shut up.
I don't know. I believe you were called Rin. I'll at least say my thanks for being the sacrifice for 15 whole years.
Oh, so that's why the title of the prologue is written. Okay. Just saying that, he glanced at the footman holding my sister and the tanto. Please stop. Don't kill my sister. Even when I tried to use my voice, I couldn't form words. That's why I screamed in my heart. There was nothing else I could do. My body was held firmly, so I couldn't even run close to her. It was the only thing I could do. And my sister was looking at me. With a blade pressed to her wasted body, neither able to move nor use her voice, she pleaded with her eyes. Pleading for rescue or for her to not... Oh. Help me. She said that. Even if she hadn't even if she hadn't voiced it, her eyes told me.
I was gonna say.
Man. Fuck. No, abandon the gods.
Nah.
Up until now, someone who served as a priestess risked her entire life to be the sacrifice for atonement. Believed in God. Without question. Sacrificing herself. The person whose endless smile never broke. For the first time she pleaded. For the first time. She beseeched that God for salvation. At that time, I had a thought. This is the girl, right? Like from the title screen, that's not like a god descending from the sky.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If right now she weren't saved here, then there was no God. I know nothing about debts or loans, don't care about atonement or sacrifice. Anyone owed those things never existed to begin with. If it was something that refused to save her right now, it was not a god. And so, there is no God. Yes, by the way. That's what I realized. I like this. I like
now
atheist
do
waifu. Calmly, succinctly, that was all the head priest said. Just as he finished saying those words, a sort of wet spraying sound rang out. Ugh. It was like the sound of water, except this wasn't water, but blood.
But blood.
That sentence.
Yeah, that sentence could have used a little more subtlety or metaphor. I don't know. It wasn't written very well.
It sounded pretty great, but in the way that they weren't aiming for. It was the sound of that spraying out from her neck. The color wasn't red, but the same black as the darkness. It's just not red because it's dark, so you can't see the color.
Yeah.
Sis.
I mean, there's no lights here, so.
Unable to speak, I screamed in my heart.
It seems like they're in ancient Japan. I don't know.
Or some kind of magic world. In front of me, as I was held firmly and unable to run to her side, my sister became soaked in strongly flowing blood. My sister was looking at me, a black stain spreading over her without any apparent resistance, trying to convey something to me. With the only part of her that wasn't bound, her eyes, she gazed at me. And then, like a thread holding her up was cut, she collapsed forward. And just that easily, she died. Just like God is dead. I'm sorry, but I like that.
I'm just saying, like, you're going to offend someone, and I'm going to be the one who has to take the blame for this. Please stop.
It's kind of in the
I'm just
the
saying.
Text.
No, it isn't. It's explicitly not in here.
No, this character doesn't believe in a god. I didn't know what my sister was trying to tell me in the end, but it seemed like there wasn't a god.
Okay, fine.
I still think I like Kara Kara better, but this is shaping up okay. It's depressing, but at least it's got a message. And so I lost my voice. I was stopped from forming words. In the end, I never once heard my sister's voice. The final time I used my voice was to the head priest when I said, "Accidents." When thinking that those were the last words of my life, despite myself, I felt it was pathetic. And as the fourth sacrifice, I took up the remaining 200 plus years of atonement. To pay back a debt to something that didn't exist. My life also died right here. I hope the first thing she does is scream. I guess not. Early spring. After those events, a few months passed and the north wind finally started to soften. In that chilly early morning, I was continuing the daily task of morning cold water ablutions. With my mouth closed, I coughed like I was choking. Unlike my sister, I always had a cloth wrapped around, no, forced around my mouth. The one time I could remove it was to eat, and then there was always a footman next to me watching. That's probably how they started with the sister, too.
It might be.
As a child. Apparently, unlike with my sister, I wasn't trusted. That was probably obvious since I had nothing I needed to protect.
Yeah, so her sister agreed to do it and did do it because she was protecting her other one.
It's depressing.
Yeah.
They seemed afraid that I might despair at everything and suddenly raise my voice. Should I just do that? They weren't omnipotent. If I suddenly, in the middle of eating, raised my voice, they probably couldn't stop me.
But they would kill her.
Yeah. Again and again, I pushed back that impulse. One reason was because without a doubt I would be killed.
Yeah.
Yeah. They placed the duty of atonement above all else.
What did you guys get for this trade? It seems like
trash.
Yeah,
it's awful. For that task, they did not even think of us sacrifices as human. I was sure that I would be subjected to unimaginably cruel reprisals before being killed.
Yeah, it's
probably... I mean, this already is, though.
So I'm going to guess that the reason that the priest and most of the people here don't treat them as human beings or think of them as human beings is because if you thought of them as human beings, you wouldn't want them to do this. You'd realize that this was shit. It's a way of distancing themselves from what could effectively be an incredibly depressing life of just forcing young girls to kill themselves.
Does it have to be a girl? Is that ever specified?
If it's got to be the bride, then I assume that would mean girl, but it could be men as well.
Could they just like put a dog in this position, maybe? And one other reason was my sister.
Put a dog in there? Like, wait, you gonna tie its mouth closed?
Well, yes.
It'll just bark through its nose.
Do they do that?
I don't know.
Okay. If I were to throw it all away, the past 100 years would have to be started from the beginning.
Yeah.
If that happened, then all my sister's actions would become nothing. So it resets if it doesn't transfer before death.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. Even if it were for a stupid thing, I would lose sight of just what my sister lived her life for all these years. I lost track of myself.
Yeah, it's getting kind of long and there's not a lot going on.
Yeah, and also it's like really small text in white on black.
Yeah.
It's been blurring for me for a bit.
And now the only thing that we're even looking at is a grave.
Yeah. So this wasn't for the head priest, nor the shrine, nor myself. And certainly not for some god. It was for my sister that I was throwing away my own life, resolving to live as a sacrifice. I had yet to turn 11. It was a young, ignorant, powerless person's own kind of determination. Summer. Cicadas.
Yeah.
The season where cicadas loudly called and the heat returned. Today I also finished my daily duty and was lying down in her bedroom. It's happening already?
No, I don't think she's dying. I think she's just bored.
Maybe. Perhaps my determination to live on as a sacrifice was finally understood, since there wasn't anyone at my side constantly watching over me. But knowing them, they probably not at ease with just this. From what I'd heard, they were bringing someone in from somewhere. Of course, a spare. Mine. While I was still healthy right now, that didn't mean I would be forever. They certainly knew that well. Even if I weren't my sister, continuing to live this way made it obvious. For my age, I had become thinner. Looking at my own young body, that's what I felt. Yeah, it's accelerated death. I mean, depression, probably, trauma. That night, I quietly had my eyes closed and was about to fall into a light sleep. Did something make a sound? Focusing on my ears, I didn't hear things but people's voices. Even though it was late at night, there seemed to be the sounds of shouting and screams. Sensing that something wasn't right, I got up. The voices were still far away, but without a doubt they were coming from within the shrine. I hope it's getting raided by, like, the Huns or something.
Yeah.
So I put my hand on the sliding door to take a look outside the bedroom.
Somebody in the village is pissed off that they took their, like, child as a spare, and now they're just burning the place to the ground.
Yeah, I hope so. When, before I could open it myself, it slammed open. Quick, run, quickly. The first thing the familiar young her friend.
Yeah.
The first thing the familiar young footman said upon entering. However, contrary to how he usually appeared, his breathing was ragged and he was very agitated. He was also wearing bright red clothing. Is his underwear? Is his long johns? Just what had happened? Gesturing with my hands and whole body, I asked him. Just go quickly. They're razing the place. Anyone found is being killed. No, they'll make sure to kill you. Saying that, the footman pointed to the rear gardens. Looking closer, I could see that the red on him was his own blood. I saw that there were also various cuts on parts of his clothing and body.
So people are actually burning it to the ground.
Yeah.
That's what raising means.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's over for this shrine. With those words, he finally fell face down onto the floor. Just what should I do? The faraway screams I heard just before now were very close. I don't know what is going on, but I have to get out of here. While looking at the man who apparently had died before me, that's what I thought. That was constructed weird.
Ha ha ha!
Okay, enough of that.
Right.
I ran straight from the rear gardens into the mountains. I didn't turn around to look. I was so afraid I didn't dare turn around. Running as fast as I could, the cloth bound around my mouth to keep me from speaking added to my difficulty breathing, but I didn't move to remove it. That was because I had no idea what the situation was right now. I hope it was... Okay, so I said I hope it's the Huns, but I also kind of hope that their god is pissed that they're doing it wrong and they're burning him themselves.
The Huns invade Japan.
I know. I just liked the joke.
I'm just saying.
Who else would it be? I could come up with
Japan.
Some Americans?
Japan. Japan invades itself all the time.
Well, not anymore.
Well, depending on the time period, they would have.
Yeah, I don't know. I just liked getting the reference there that just roving bands of, like, Attilas were coming in just to fuck them up.
Okay, I'm just saying.
They got Genghised. Eventually, hiding myself along a small path in the forest, I slowly caught my breath. Then, fearfully, I looked back at the place I had run from. Burning? Is that the shrine that's burning? Behind me, the area where the shrine stood was glowing bright red in the darkness. There was no reason to believe it was anything other than a fire. Then what happened to all the other people? Or is it like the footman said, everyone was killed? There wasn't much need to think about it. Most likely it was true.
Yeah.
While running through the rear garden, I remembered hearing a number of familiar voices changing into screams. The head priest, good. Lower priests, the other priestesses, the many footmen that came from the court. I had heard that despite being a small shrine, it had a historical significance. Too much talking.
Yeah.
Did such places get raised like this all of a sudden? No matter how much I thought, I couldn't find a reason, but there was a much bigger problem. What should I do now? Could it be that with the shrine gone, I'd been released from the role of being the sacrifice for atonement? Or was it that so long as this world existed, I had a duty to continue it? Well, can she still do all the rituals without the shrine?
Yeah, she
can dunk herself in water.
And dunk yourself in cold water.
I guess. I just didn't know. However, I understood that if I were found, I would be killed. I started moving the feet that had stopped on the forest path, deeper into the forest. I didn't know just how far a child's feet could continue running.
So she's got to live for 200 years if she wants to finish this, because she does not have a replacement.
Or really any way to do a replacement ritual if they had one. Like we know that they did like a sacrifice with the sword and all that, but like there was probably details to it that weren't in the narration.
I don't know.
I don't know, but like that shrine's pretty much done.
Yeah, I'm guessing that there probably weren't details. I'm thinking they probably just killed her sister and bound her to make sure she wouldn't talk right after the death of her sister. I think that's all that it was.
But you'd think that they'd have to signify to the god some way. No?
No, I don't think so.
Well, I still think the head priest was just a pervert.
Yeah, I mean, maybe.
But there was nothing I could do. Half a year later, late autumn, deep on a mountain, around when the red-stained leaves on the trees were starting to drop and the weather was slowly changing to winter.
Just living in the forest?
Yeah. Living here and hiding, a few months passed before I noticed. They were days pieced together with wild plants and fish from a stream. At least she's eating.
Yeah, I guess.
Of course, I had thought about going down into the village a number of times. Thought about it, but I would get scared and would be unable to leave the mountain. There might be someone on watch. The people who had attacked the shrine might just be simple robbers in the night. I think that was the most likely case, but people who would burn down a holy shrine might be someone with greater influence. If that were true, I couldn't be careless and get myself found. Normally, the footmen were people from the imperial court and had no connection to the shrine. But despite that, they were also killed, so I doubt they would let a priestess associated with the shrine go.
Yeah, probably.
Even if it were a young child. Well, the best way to disguise yourself is to start talking. But while I have thought about that, there was also another reason. Actually, this one was even bigger. If I go to the village, what would happen to me? A failed priestess with no skills? Someone who was nothing more than a sacrifice? Did I have a way to live? Well, you can catch fish, I guess. With these doubts gathered together, I just couldn't find the courage to leave the mountain. And yet, even now I didn't use my voice, and every day I had cold water ablutions, continuing my duty of atonement. Come on.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just imagine that she's doing the cold water in the river while she's swatting fish out of the stream like a bear.
I don't know.
I know. To be honest, not even I knew the reason why. Even though I didn't have a sister I could rely on now, and that head priest that I disliked wasn't here, And moreover, even if I spent my entire life continuing on, there wouldn't be anyone to come after. With even the shrine now gone, it was all meaningless.
So now she's realizing that, like, her whole thing was like, I want to protect the fact that my sister spent 15 years doing this and we at least got through 100 years. And now she's realizing, wait, there's no one else to come after me. Shit, I gotta live 200 years to fix this. This is meaningless. This is completely pointless.
And the shrine's gone. Her sister's grave has probably been, like, desecrated somehow. Really, just the whole land's probably wrecked. Like, there's no point.
Yeah.
2 months later, winter. Snow fell from the sky and stained the black mountains in white. Facing the oncoming of deep winter, I had a premonition that I was going to die soon. Well, she's still out in the woods.
Yeah.
I haven't eaten anything in 3 days already. Moreover, with the snow covering the area, it didn't seem likely that there would be something edible around.
She can make snowflake soup.
Yeah. You're growing up poor in the Pokemon world. That's what you do. The bountiful autumn mountain had changed, and in the winter the mountains became like a land where the living died. I think most lands with living are the lands where the living die.
Yeah, I would agree.
But that would be fine. Dying wouldn't be so bad.
I mean, she is starving to death and stuck in the snow.
Since my sister's death and taking on the sacrifice for atonement, I had been the same as dead. Right now, there were only 2 things I regretted. The first was that I wasn't able to say my complaints to God or whatever it was. Oh, if it's a God, he can hear your thoughts. The other was that I wanted to hear, just once, my sister's voice. That was it.
I didn't click that. I just did it on
if you're sure. But maybe that might be granted if I die. Imagining my sister's voice within my heart, it was a very bright and cute voice. Why do they always keep describing this hypothetical voice as cute? I don't know. It seems weird and out of place for the tone. With those gentle words in my ears, I quietly closed my eyes.